really probably in as good a form as he's been all year.
Yeah, recently turned 34 years of age, from Scotland, but has resided here in the States for some time now. And when it comes to attractive players to watch, he's right up there, isn't he? Shaw, with the likes of Joshua Filler, is the most appealing on the eye.
Yeah, absolutely. Very athletic at the table. You never know what he might come with. And really in the biggest moments, he's one of those guys that, you know, one of the, I say few at times, that is really willing to pull the trigger on something difficult. Now looking at a 2-ball, sizing that up by the 8. A tough shot on the 1, even though it is open. Eagle eye, of course, I always tend to lean towards the Americans, but he's one of the guys I kind of felt like was going to be in the mix come the end. But he's facing a guy that, when he does come to America, he seems to get a lot of results, and the East Coast, again, has been very friendly to Vann. And you could tell the way he sized the 2 up prior to shooting the 1 that it's very tight. On the, to a half a pocket, not the best angle, easy to hit it into the bottom cushion a little bit. Just like that, just because you're coming away. If you're on the other side of the 2, believe it or not, the pocket opens up. I have to explain that more at another time, but now Vann to the table.
Yeah, Vann Corteza from Davao City in the Philippines, 43 years of age. And in case you're wondering, yes, his parents did name him after the American actor Van Cleef.
Well, some tester to open here, especially recognizing not much of a safety play. Now he's got to put a little speed on this, get a little bounce, get left of the 5 and back down with the cue ball. A little bit of movement, and the difference you'll see, Vann a little shorter with the swing, generates a lot of power just in a short kind of zone with the swing of the cue, but very creative player, and definitely a player that's been in big moments.
A 2-ball that just refuses to go down. It's been attempted 3 times now. Still race to 9 for both of the rounds today. It goes up to race to 10 tomorrow for the last 16 and the quarters. And then on Saturday, 11 in the semi-finals and race to 13 to decide this year's US Open champion.
Well, the 2's down and very open table, so Vann should get on the board first. Of course, he has to be breaking the balls pretty well to get to this point. Professional pool has changed. I mean, this has got quite a bit of speed.
Massively overhit that, and he knew it straight away, didn't he? Raising the hand in a futile attempt to keep the cue ball under control.
Yeah, that's something you'll see early here. You know, later in the match, he won't worry as much about being a little out of line with the cue ball. Speed here is important, though. Still not out of the woods. He's got to go into the 9 one way or another. So if he draws off the 9, he could end up by the side pocket a little thin on the 8, and of course the 9 moving out of position. So I doubt he goes with a high ball. High ball's okay, but if you happen to catch it a little thick coming off the 9, you may not move much out of that corner with the cue ball. So I think he's got to go with a little draw stroke. Oh, he's going with a high ball. Uh-oh. Is the 9 going to agree?
Yeah, pulled up in plenty of time in the end. As opening racks go, this has been one of the more eventful ones.
long time over that ball. A little, I would say, a little out of sorts there for Vann. He's not one that pulls the trigger real quickly, but you won't see the top guy stay over the ball that long usually.
Yeah, looks like he hasn't quite settled in his own mind just yet. Winning the opening rack should take care of that. So Corteza leads 1-0. Jayson Shaw of these two. JJ is the one who's grabbed the headlines and the big wins in recent years. But Corteza has got big pedigree himself and has been around for a long time. So how do you see it in terms of who's the favourite here and how much there is to choose between the two guys?
Well, it's like, you know, most professional sports, you definitely have a guy that's got to be a little favorite, that being Eagle Eye. But, you know, just percentage points behind is any of these guys. Vann is right there, and again, when he comes to America, he usually gets some kind of good results, and he's going to be here for another month, but looking for today's win to start.
So many clashes of big established names in this round. Here's another one going on over on table 2 at the moment. David Alcadi of Spain, part of the winning Mosconi Cup team last year, up against Ko Ping Chung, who has won the opening rack. And other players off to good starts include Jan Yuski, 2-0 up on Bezar Spahiu. Abdullah Al Yusuf, world semi-finalist this year, also leading 2-0 against Dennis Grabe. Keep an eye on all the matches as the morning unfolds. 12 last 64 clashes going on at the moment, including this one.
Yeah, and this is what I was curious about. Vann never labeled the biggest of breakers, usually figures it out, excuse me. But there you could see not near as much movement on the object balls, nothing down, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Jayson Shaw, as you say, has been in good form recently, including his 8th Turning Stone title.
And really at our last major event, the European Open, a semifinalist there, so lost an odd match to Josh Filler in that regard. Was it Josh?
It was Filler. It was a bit earlier though. It was
yeah,
last
it was
16.
last 16. That's right.
I think that was the match where we had all the golden breaks.
That's right.
Right
That's
at the
right.
start.
That's right. A nice shot there. Got a little close to his work. You could see he really took a look at the 2 ball. Should be able to get across, and being the lefty, be right on top of the 2, shooting it to a tight pocket. Now, where some players make the mistake is they kind of baby this. You don't want to fire it, but you want it to slide a little. Yeah, just like that. Put a little speed on it.
So much talk this year about the new world ranking system. He has won one of the events which counts towards that this year. Not one of the bigger ones, but still reasonable number of points for winning the Diamond Open in Pennsylvania back in April. Beat another British player, Darren Appleton, in the final of that. Shaw, one of 4 British players in the last 64 stage, which includes 25 different nationalities.
Yeah, I was trying to take a guess at how many countries represented here in this great U.S. Open, and the number's huge. Probably 45 countries, maybe more.
Let's start it out. Yeah, probably something in that region. So, Corteza came up dry from the break. Jayson Shaw ends up winning the rack and levels at 1 apiece. Now, a couple of the other British players still in the event. Indeed, the 2 remaining Englishmen are both in action at the moment. Chris Melling level at 2-all with Jovan Bustamante. And Imran Majid, who recently turned 50, is 1 apiece against Jonas Suto Camino. Alex Pagalayan, former winner of this event, leads Badr Alawadi 2-1. And Alvin Ocean, tough one for him against Wojciech Szewczyk. Ocean looking for back-to-back wins in these big Matchroom Open events after his success in Germany in August. It's 1-1 there. Janiuski now 3-0 up on Besar Spahiu. And likewise, Abdullah Al Yusuf has won the first 3 racks in his clash with Dennis Grabe of Estonia.
Yeah, Uski, who I thought played very well at the World Cup, getting all this experience. I watched him play here. He's playing solid. He's had some nice wins with not a whole lot of close matches.
Yeah, he played with Mika Immonen for Finland at the World Cup, and they got to the quarterfinals.
And this is going to be the difference, in my opinion. Shaw kind of known as another guy that figures out the break, and definitely with the 9 on the spot, he's going to make that 1 in the side quite often. Now, the cue ball is going to get banged around here and there. It's been like that all week, so I wouldn't doubt we see something kind of brutal during this match at a crucial point. But a nice starter here in game number 3. Definitely has some work, though. See the 5-7 combination that needs to be played later, most likely.
It was a fairly straightforward opening day for Shaw, the champion of 2017. Beat Vincent Boravage of Canada 9-3, and then a 9-1 win over the American Josh Roberts, who I think we all expected would give him a closer contest than that. And then came back for winners qualification yesterday and was given a closer match by Hong Kong's Robbie Capito, but got through 9-6. All the matches in this round feature one player who came through from the winner's side and one who survived the one-loss section.
Yeah, I don't think he can get real close to this combo. Tip came up on that one. Wasn't the best strike right there from Eagle Eye, but he got himself in position. A lot of times distance, of course, hence the nickname Eagle Eye. Not much of a factor to this man. And it seems, you know, Jayson doesn't have that pause at the cue ball like a lot of the top players, and just seems like that rhythm's a hair off here to start. And if you're not, no one's informed you, we had our SVB Junior U.S. Open start this morning. Inaugural event, and I think that's going to be an incredible event for pool as it grows. 64 juniors.
Just the experience of being here and rubbing shoulders, as it were, with the biggest names in the game and playing in the same conditions as them. I mean, what's not to like about that?
Yeah, you could feel the buzz. Most all of them arrived yesterday, and watching the event. You know, the pros have been so good with the next generations of pool players that I think it's just going to get more quality as things go on. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more junior events tied on to some of these bigger ones. Difficult little situation here. Watch out for the side. Yeah, right. That side pocket I was talking about right here. Yeah. Ooh.
Whoa.
Wow.
It looked 50-50 all the way as to whether or not it had the legs to get there. Tell you what, though, the fact that it has stayed on the table, obviously that's what he wanted, but it doesn't have to make this 8-ball a tougher proposition.
Yeah, and watch how it just kind of settles, and gravity seems like it's been a little bit defeated here on this shot. Awkward cueing. The key to this shot when you're in this position is don't let up. It's easy when the cueing is you kind of let up at impact. Make sure you get through the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Like so much else, it's about committing to the moment, isn't it? And he did that very impressively, and from the positional perspective, could not have played it any better. So for the second time, he's one ahead. Shaw had his chance there. Didn't take it, and Corteza leads 2-1. Albin Ocean, winner of the European Open, World Championship runner-up this year, but 2-1 down against Wojciech Szewczyk. I think Ocean would go in as favourite, but nobody would be in the least bit surprised to see Shevchik actually win that match. 2-2 now between Jovan Bustamante and Chris Melling. They're certainly getting through the racks. Max Lechner has won the opener against Pius Labutus. Lechner, who was a quarter-finalist here last year. And Alex Pagulayan still going after all these years. Had that great battle with Ralph Suke yesterday. He's now 2-1 up on Badr Alawadi. Copenhagen has just made it 3-1 against Daniel Massiol. And Shevchik has stretched his lead to 3-1 against Ocean.
Yeah, there's so many different dynamics. If you look at, you know, the start of this final 64, like the Ocean match, for instance, he would love to be on one of the TV tables versus a lot of the players would say, hey, leave me out on the outer tables until I run a little deeper. But that really does add a little something to these matches, depending, you know, how comfortable you are. Now, a little more speed that time, but still, this is going to be a lot of the match for Lee Vann. Can he put some racks together, you know, when he does get a chance following a mistake by Eagle Eye?
Two breaks for Corteza, both dry.
Yeah, and what happens with that mentally anyways is a couple different things. You know, Jayson can feel, you know, a little less pressure if he's not seeing balls go down on the break from Lee Vann. He can kind of erase that mistake, but at the same time, you can't lean on that, because I see it to where, you know, halfway through the match, Lee Vann figures out the break and puts some racks together. So Eagle Eye knows he's got to keep mistakes to a bare minimum.
Came into this week in 8th place in the European standings. Remember, the top 3 qualify automatically for the Mosconi Cup team. So he actually has to win his second US Open to have any chance at all of qualifying automatically. I don't know about you, Jeremy, and you may not want to second guess your opposing captain, Alex Lely, but I don't really think we're saying anything outrageous when we say, sure, we'll definitely be on that team, whatever happens.
Yeah, if they had it at the sports book, I'd be betting it, that's for sure. Touchy little shot. I think he's going to try and float between the 4 and 9 here. So it's all talent involved here. Oh, he came across. Nice effort. Didn't realize he could move it across so easily, and a lot of control. Now does he just float like kind of towards the 8 with a little spin? He's kind of elevating here. So does that mean he's coming 3 rails? Okay. See, that's a little preference there. Some guys would spin up into that position, and then some guys would kind of do that light stun. When you're close to the ball, that's when you can, you know, really choose what you like. When you start to get longer shots, that's when there's a little more standard way to do things. Playing all ball fouls. Probably just a little top inside. He could just stun if he wanted, but little top left English. A little bit of both there. Why he's kind of stunned that as well. He wanted to make sure he didn't flirt with that left side pocket. Now going by the 9 and back up for the lower left corner.
Four racks, and every one has gone against the break. And that's why it's Shaw 2, Corteza 2. Looks like Yanni Uski and Abdullah Al Yusuf are in their own private race to be the first player through to the last 32. And they're both almost halfway there. Uski 4-0 up on Bezar Spahiu of Albania, and Al Yusuf with a 4-1 lead over the Estonian Dennis Grabe. Bošek Ševčík still 3-1 in front against Alban Ocean. Roland Garcia has a 2-1 lead over Jesus Atencio. Koping Chung, who we were looking in on earlier, 2-1 lead over David O'Cady. Also 2-1 in favour of the former world champion Niels Feijen against another former world champion, Torsten Homan. Jonas Suto Camino 2-1 ahead of Imran Majid. Max Lechner has won the first 2 racks now against Pius Labutus. Ko Pinyi 3-1 against Daniel Maciol. And the other 2 matches, Jovan Bustamante and Chris Melling, and also Alex Pagulayan and Badr Alawadi, are both level at 2 apiece. Also 2-2 here.
Yeah, and that's 2 clearances after 2 dry breaks. Watch out for the cue ball, that spin. Okay, he came clean. 7 balls, not going to do him any favors though. And again, 2 dry breaks from Vann, and Jayson gets 2 games on the board right behind it. So that's going to be a stat that's going to be a huge impact in this match. You would figure anyways. And I like what, I've seen all year from Ko Pinyi. I think, of course he hasn't played his best yet here. A little nervy maybe at times, but maybe he's settling in. He's playing a solid match to open the final 64. Interesting little rollout here. Of course, he couldn't go anywhere offensive, but I think he's left a pretty easy safety. Yeah, you can see a little shake of the head there. He's definitely not getting this back. He's just going to roam the 1 over the 2, bring the cue ball behind the 3. Just real subtle. Yeah, didn't quite get there maybe, and no reason to be short there with the 3 and the 2 helping you, but kind of a so-so push out in my opinion. Now Jayson, even though he can see an edge of the 1, he still may kick at this ball just because doesn't really see much future. Now what Jayson is so good at also is taking these situations you don't normally see and maybe not getting the snooker, but at least getting the 1 out of position for Vann. Now he's going to look at the kick. Now the kick, you can go with a little bit of a high ball, try and bring the cue ball down behind the 5, something like that. A lot of guys here in this position, I think, would address this with a draw, maybe try and pocket the 1 in the lower left-hand corner. And that's what he's going to do. Yeah. And so that's kind of like you got to make a decision there, Michael. Should I play for a little luck there because I'm in such a bad position? He was trying to subtly put the 1 on the left long rail, just trying to keep Vann off an offensive shot. And, when percentages say it's not there, you sometimes just got to let the balls move a little bit and create a little luck.
Ivan Corteza has been winning notable events since the 1990s. It was 99 when he won his first gold medal at the Southeast Asian Games. He's won 3 more since then. Cast his reputation winning the All Japan Championship in 2006, winner at Turning Stone the following year, and the China Open in 2013. That's a big title to claim.
Oh, he got a lot into that. He's going to get a little thin on the 3. Normally not too big of a deal, but, nerves are, definitely tell nerves are in there. I wonder why he put so much English on the ball. Is he trying to come a couple rails to get a little closer to the pink 4? You can really cut the pink 4 and kill the cue ball pretty easily from the center of the table, but yeah, he's trying to get much closer. This may fall below the 4. Now speed's perfect. I had a conversation with Eklund Kachi yesterday. He told me, he said, Jeremy, I'm in a great position. I'm playing really, really well. And he's a guy that will tell you pretty honestly where he's at with his game, how he feels about it anyways. So he's looking for a big U.S. Open.
What, Kachi?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Either that or he's just trying to start psyching you out ahead of the Mosconi.
Maybe, but he's fighting for a spot on
Yeah,
that
well, this is
Mosconi. I
it.
mean, he needs a good U.S. Open, I think, to make that team.
Yeah, only 5 players on each team, and certainly from the European point of view, a lot more than 5 players who will feel they could do a job in that event this year.
Yeah, well, we carried 7 Americans into this final 64, so don't think the Americans aren't starting to trend in the right direction.
Yeah, 7 US players, that's more than any other country, just ahead of Poland and indeed the Philippines, who have 6 each. One of whom is about to lead Jayson Shaw for the 3rd time by a single rack. Took a while to pull the trigger there, but got the job done. Corteza now leads 3-2. So does Alex Pagulayan against Badr Alawadi. It's also 3-2 to Jovan Bustamante in his match against Chris Melling. And Ko Pin Yi is now the closest player to victory at 5-1 against Daniel Maciol. Max Lechner 3-0 up on Pius Labutus. Jonas Suto Camino starting to build a bit of a lead over Imran Majid at 3-1. Alban Ocean has taken the 5th rack to close to 3-2 down against Wojciech Szewczyk. 3-1 for Roland Garcia against Jesus Atencio. It's 2-2 in the match between David Al-Kadi and Ko Ping Chung on table 2. Niels Fyan has now gone 3-1 up on Torsten Homan. Janiuski, as I said, 4-0 in front against Bezar Spahiu. That one hasn't changed. And Abdullah Al-Yusuf leads Dennis Grabe by 4 racks to 1. Just a reminder, if you want to watch the table 2 action at any stage, it's all available on the Matchroom YouTube channel. Table 1 is on matchroom.live and the Matchroom Facebook page.
Yeah, and this can be a little disturbing, you know. He's tried 2 different breaks already, 2 different sides, both dry. Last one was better. Got the corner ball down there. May have had a little kiss on the corner ball to get it down, but he's going to love these results, especially in comparison to the first 2. Tricky little shot to open. Easy to make the 1, but position on the 2. He's going to have to think about that one for a moment. The 5's a big ball in his way, trying to get natural position on the 2.
See his eagerness there to finally get a good break, throwing his head towards the pack.
May run into the 2 here. I don't know if he's going to try and kill the ball. I don't know if he can get above the 5. Okay. And that happens so often when you're worried about hitting the ball light. You actually end up a little short of your mark. You kind of shock yourself at times. But he's pretty natural to come across. Good position on the 3 in the same pocket as the 2 for the 2.
Talking there about his big individual successes. And yes, all the ones I listed were some time ago, but as recently as early 2020, did win at the Derby City Classic just before COVID. Started to shut down the world. So still a very capable competitor.
Yeah, just more time at the table, more matches. And like I said, he comes to America predominantly during this time of the year into the Derby. Loves the East Coast. Likes the straight pool event before the International. Always does well there. He's had some good internationals as well. Oh, nice shot there. A lot cleaner, right? Going down the rail. Definitely intentional going into the 9 with the cue ball.
Corteza started with a whitewash of the British player Andrew Finnegan, 9-0. And a very good win over Mark Bijsterbosch, the Dutch World Cup player, 9-5. Lost 9-6 to Wojciech Szewczyk in winners qualification. That sent him into losers qualification, but he got through comfortably, 9-2 over the Canadian Stephen Holm.
You could see him checking there, all ball fouls. Key to that is once you get in position, just don't go any lower with your body. Once you get into a comfortable position to be able to pull the trigger, that's where players have made the mistake. They say, oh, I got a little room to go a little lower, and before you know it, you fouled the cue ball.
A lot of things that haven't happened yet in this match. Nobody's had a break and run. Nobody's won a rack on their own break. Nobody's won 2 racks in a row. And nobody's had a lead of more than a single rack at any stage. But Lee Vann Corteza is going to tick off all of those things in one fell swoop here. He now leads Jayson Shaw by 4 racks to 2. Indeed, all 3 of the players from the Philippines in action in this session are leading their matches. It's also 4-2 in favour of Jovan Bustamante against Chris Melling. And Roland Garcia 3-2 up on Jesus Atencio. Just as I say that, Melling is close to 4-3 behind. Alex Pagalayan 4-2 over Badr Alawadi. Ko Pin Yi just 3 racks away from victory now, leading Daniel Maciol 6-1. Be a good win over Maciol, quarter-finalist at the UK Open this year. Max Lechner, quarter-finalist here last year, has a 4-0 lead over Lithuania's Pius Labutis. Jonas Suto Camino stretching his advantage to 4-1 against Imran Majid. Wojciech Szewczyk has taken the 6th rack to go 4-2 up on Alban Ocean. David O'Cady and Ko Ping Chung level at 2-all. Niels Fyan starting to take command in the clash of the former world champions with Torsten Homan. It's now 4-1 to the Dutchman. And Jani Uski 5-0 in front over Bezar Spahiu. Abdullah Al Yusuf has also reached 5 against Dennis Grabe, who has got 1 on the board himself.
Yeah, Uski looks super solid to open this final 64, and like I said, I thought he played as solid as Mika in that World Cup at times. That's for sure. I think as a matter of fact, as soon as Mika kind of let the reins go a little bit, not as much coaching during that event, I think the team got even better. Little thin on the one there. You can see the cue ball drop below the rack. Spin out of the corner. The 2 end up on top of the 9. Cue ball behind the 3. So a push out situation. John Lehman hard at work here to replace these balls after moving the template. Situation will come up from time to time. Good thing, you know, for Lee Vann, you love to see that congestion when you have to roll out. You know, not too much congestion because it makes for an easy safety. You know, for the incoming player, but definitely has options here with the 4-7 a little goofy, the 2-9 not really anything offensively playable there. So you got to believe it's a push out up the table somewhere. Maybe not. Maybe he rolls out where he's standing to just a piece of the 2. I don't think he wants to roll out to the cross side bank. Oh, he's left a full snooker, and this is odd to me to roll out to a jump shot when you had so many more options. And don't get me wrong, I think going to the side pocket, Jayson's going to pass this, but maybe not. And this is maybe one of the big differences in yesteryear's players. The players these days know how good your opponent is with the jump cue. So going into the side pocket from some distance is difficult, but eagle eye willing to take it on before he sees his opponent make it. I think years ago you would have seen most players pass this rollout.
Made that look easy, Jeremy.
Yeah, he sure did, and you know those are big turning points in matches, and you got to say that's a lot of heart just to take that shot on in such a big moment. But like I said, the mentality I think has changed overall in professional pool. That it's light. He's going to be upset about that. But I think it's changed overall where the guys realize, hey, I have to stay aggressive. I have to take these tough shots on myself. And maybe seeing Vann start to make balls on the break, I think maybe made that decision a little easier for Jayson. He's going to be a little upset also because he's left an easier kick shot with the cue ball and the 3 being a little light. So Vann's going to kick and try and hit the bottom of this 3. He's going to take a chance of making it in the side. Trying to bring the cue ball back towards where he's standing. Great effort there. Still got to be pretty pleased overall. Yeah, we have, what is it, 24 players in this round, but we have another, I guess it would be 40 players that are coming up in the next few matches. We have 12 tables going right now, is that right?
Yeah, it's spread across 3 sessions. There'll be another lot of matches coming on at 11:30, but a number of matches scheduled for 1 o'clock as well, so.
Well, just looking around, uh-oh, the 9 ball may be a problem here. Yeah, big problem. He's going to have to come with a nice 2-rail kick at the pink 4. Nice shot on the 3, just a little light maybe. The reason why I asked that about, I'm just looking around for the guys that are warming up, and just again, so many huge names.
We associate Jayson Shaw with flowing, freewheeling, fluent pool, and partly through circumstances and partly through his own play. We've not seen really any of that from him so far today.
Yeah, I think he's settled in a little bit more since earlier. I did see the timing I thought was off a hair. You know, his is so exquisite, it's hard to really recognize when he's a hair off. But he wants to come clean with the cue ball now. Big draw stroke coming up for Vann to try and extend that lead. But yeah, I think he's settled in. It's just a matter of now getting some more shots.
You're talking about the players practicing. I can see Lucius Yap right in front of us here, warming up for his match with Sanyan Pelovanovic. I think that's Shane Wolford just over on the next table there. He's playing Dong Kwok Wang, and the next table over from him is Oscar Dominguez. He'll be up against Radoslav Babica. And of course, huge day for Wolford and Dominguez, who are both right in that mix for those Mosconi Cup spots. Wolford looking to get in there for the first time.
Yeah, him and Skyler, Oscar, Skyler, and Shane are the top 3 in points, right behind SVB, of course, who's already made the team. And a nice shot there from Vann over the 9 ball. Got a lot out of it. Got him in position to cut the 7. Real natural up and down for the 8. And, you know, Vann, not one of the super young guys in the game like we have so many, but he's one of those guys, you know, each day when he gets racks under his belt, matches under his belt, he's just going to improve, you know, become more of a threat. So that's the one thing with Vann. Has a very short swing. Sometimes gets a little quicker with it. Doesn't get as much out of the cue ball, but overall he's just a guy that plays with a lot of heart, gives maximum effort.
Is to make it 3 in a row. Jayson Shaw's bid for a second US Open title is in real jeopardy here. Vann Corteza now leads him 5-2. Janiuski, who you were talking about a few minutes ago, Jeremy, in his performance at the World Cup. Let's not forget he also pushed Shane Van Boening very close in winners' qualification at the European Open. Really could have won that match, only lost 9-7 in the end. Well, he's now 6-0 in front of Bezar Spahiu. Copigny has also reached 6-1 over Daniel Massiol. That's just gone 6-2, actually. And Niels Feijen is now 6-1 in front of Torsten Homan. 4-all between Jovan Bustamante and Chris Melling. It's turning into one of the matches of the morning. Alex Pagulayan 5-2 ahead of Badr Al-Awadi. Max Lechner, one of 3 Austrians left in the championship, has a 5-0 lead over Pius Labutus. But one of the others, Albin Ocean, the biggest Austrian name of all, is 4-3 down to Wojciech Szewczyk. Jonas Suto Camino has a 4-2 lead against Imran Majid. Roland Garcia, 5-2 in front of Jesus Atencio. David O'Cady is edged in front of Ko Ping Chung at 3-2, and Abdullah Al Yusuf has a 5-2 lead against Dennis Grabe. 5-2 here as well to Lee Van Corteza. Jason Shaw has got to start making something happen here.
Yeah, he sure does. A name you mentioned that doesn't get mentioned enough, and a very consistent player that's always in the mix, at least here in America, Roland Garcia. Tough. Oh, here's that break again. Not much going on with it. Did get the one down. Now, does he want to take on a combination here? I doubt it. Could easily bump the 2 away and put him, you know, go the rail with the cue ball and up on the 8. Lee Vann, always a fun character. There's all kinds of safeties here. He could chip the top of the 2 and just roam the cue ball 1 rail up behind the 3, using the 7 and the 8. That's probably a little better. Only reason being is you may get a very devastating snooker in that manner. Now he's looking at this combination, so he likes it. He must be able to hold the 2. This is difficult. Jacked up, I would really consider not shooting at this. Like I said, chip the top of the 2. Go by the 7 with the cue ball. Really use that skills trying to come up on the 3. This is a very missable combo. I wouldn't shoot at this. Yeah, I don't know about that one. And you kind of got this, you know, a little pressure on Jayson right now. So I think that does play into some shot selection at times.
2017 was Jason Shaw's US Open year. Played Eklund Kachi in the final. Led 8-0, went on to win 13-4, making him the 4th different European winner after Ralph Suke, Mika Immonen, and Darren Appleton. Joshua Filler has since become the 5th. Sorry, Jeremy, you were making a comment on the shot itself there.
Sorry about that. I was just noticing that the ball kicked on him a little bit on Jayson. Had to hit it easy. Watch it kind of twist a little bit and carry with the cue ball to the rail. Yeah, you can see the side spin on the ball.
Well, we could see in his face there, that's an expression that a player only has after he's had a kick. And that was confirmation enough in itself. Big moments these in the match. 6-2 against a player of Corteza's class and experience. It'll be a very big deficit for the Scot to try to overturn.
Yeah, it's always 6-2. Looks like a huge deficit, right? Really huge in today's new format, I think, anyways. Very hard to run a bunch of racks. Not saying you can't do it, but you're probably going to have a little fortune to get shots after the break, and you're definitely going to have to earn the runouts. I may kill this ball. I'm not in love with trying to move the ball a lot here, unless I have to. Yeah, okay, just keep it natural. That's exactly correct. The 5 does play by the 8. It can play for the side as well. Very clear right side of the table, though. I'd really consider coming up for the 5 in the corner, that being the same corner as the 4. Nothing wrong with the side pocket, that's for sure. Just stay off the rail. That way, if you get a little funny on the angle, and that should be okay. pretty good position here. We'll see. I don't think I really go to the rail on the 6. You can. Not much angle there, though, and you're kind of forcing it a little bit. I just pinch this back, take the shot on the 7. Looks like he's going to go to the rail. So maybe a little more angle than I think. No, I like that better. Cheat the pocket a little bit. Say it a lot of times. It's not about a lot of, of what you want to do. It's more of what's needed. Keeps you in check a little bit, which is okay. It looks like he's going to try and draw to the rail. And out. Could float it. So much difference in, the outlook at the matches and the players in today's round versus the last 3, In situations, there were some players this week that had chances to beat some big names, but you kind of felt like that miss at a crucial time or mistake was going to happen, or that's just not the case in this final 64.
Jayson Shaw was left disgruntled after a kick. Vann Corteza continues to kick on in this match. He now leads Jayson Shaw 6-2. Big story in the offing here. Shaw would have been considered one of the favourites. There's that lady in the Stars and Stripes hoodie. I know as a golf man, Jeremy, that might remind you of that time Payne Stewart, the year he finished 2nd in the Open at St Andrews and played in the Stars and Stripes top in the final round.
Yeah, he had a few seconds in majors.
3 wins as well, of course.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, back with the pool. Chris Melling now 5-4 up on Jovan Bustamante. Alex Pagulayan 5-3 over Badr Alawadi. Ko Pin-Yi looks to be heading through. 7-2 against Daniel Maciol. A good win if it turns out to be as comfortable as that against the Polish player. Max Lechner maybe on course for a whitewash. 6-0 over Pius Labutis. Jonas Suto Camino steadily pulling away from Imran Majid. That's now 5-2. Albin Ocean is 5-3 down to Wojciech Szewczyk. Roland Garcia, someone you were just talking about, JJ, has a 5-2 lead over Jesus Atencio. David Al-Kadi now 3-2 in front of Ko Ping Chung. That one taking its time for sure. Niels Fyan 7-1 against Torsten Homan. And Abdullah Al-Yusuf has a 6-3 lead over Dennis Grabe.
Well, everything falling into place for Vann now. The 2 stay down on the bottom end of the table. Cue ball got around the 6, no scratch, came clean, and really should extend this lead. It's got to do the work, but it's definitely there.
One match I didn't mention there was someone we've been talking about a lot this morning, Jan Juski. He's now 7-0 in front of Bezar Spahiu. And of course he beat Billy Thorpe 9-0 yesterday, so having been sent to the one-loss side with a heavy defeat to Francisco Sanchez Ruiz yesterday, since going there, Husky has played 16 racks and won them all. And both of those matches against very good players.
Yeah, you kind of got to feel Billy probably made some mistakes, but you can't win like that without playing top shelf pool, and especially under tough conditions. So talk about it all the time, those players that are just a level below or something of the top guys, whatever you want to call it. When are they going to turn the corner and become one of the upper echelon players? And we might be seeing that from Uski. Sign of experience there, backing off of it when he didn't like it. Easy shot. A lot of times we say, oh, it's okay anyways, but very smart and experienced Vann Corteza.
Talking earlier about all the big individual tournaments he's won. Well, arguably his most high-profile success was as part of the Philippines team with Dennis Rocolio at the World Cup of Pool. Next year will be the 10th anniversary of it. They beat the Netherlands, Niels Fyan and Nick Vandenberg in the final in London, to make the Philippines the first country ever to win the World Cup 3 times. That's since been equalled by China.
I'm curious to see. I don't think he's going to move the rock too much. Does need an angle of some sort. Now, the 8 does play on the side. So if he doesn't and can't get on the 8 in the lower left, he can draw back behind for the 8 in the side. He'd rather not. That's why you see him taking a little more time on trying to make this decision right here. Important he doesn't let up. I mean, Eagle Eye is who he is because, you know, any opening, he's looking to pounce. Oh, that's got to go. That's got to go. He hit way up on the cue ball. And an odd decision in my point to draw back around. You know, you're drawing pass position when you do that because the 8 does play in that middle pocket. So definitely we're going to see Eagle Eye come to the table. I don't think this is a playable bank. Could be wrong.
This could be the moment of the match. Look at this. I think he's definitely settled now, it's fair to say.
Yeah, you can't get all those titles and wins without coming with shots, and you can thank the Derby City Classic for that. I think every player is a better banker these days just because of that event and the long-running history of the bank pool event there.
Lee Van Corteza only needs 2 more racks now to bank a place in the last 32. So while they're getting ready for the next rack, a look again at the other scores. Yanni Uski on the hill. First man to get there today. 8-0 against Bizarre Spahiu. The only other player still in contention for a whitewash victory is Max Lechner, who has a 6-0 lead over Pius Labutus. But Lechner's good friend and fellow Austrian, Alban Ocean, is 6-3 behind against Wojciech Szewczyk. Chris Melling leads Jovan Bustamante 6-4. Alex Pagalayan also 2 clear at 5-3 over Badr Alawadi. Ko Pinyi just needs 2 more to get through. He leads Daniel Maciol 7-2. Jonas Suno Camino 5-2 up. Camino rather 5-2 up on Imran Majid. Roland Garcia has a 5-3 lead over Jesus Atencio, highly rated player from Venezuela. Really taking their time on table 2, the match between David Okadi and Ko Ping Chung. That one's 3-all. Abdullah Al Yusuf now 7-3 in front over Dennis Grabe. Al Yusuf having the year of his life. And in the last few moments, Niels Fine has also got to the hill. 8-1, he leads Torsten Homan.
Been very consistent with the cue ball spinning below the rack, and he's going to love this outcome. Another great shot on the 1. A little distance, but the good thing is the 2's a cupcake over the upper right corner. He just really got to kind of stop his ball, get started for another rack, and looking to extend that lead. Wouldn't overthink this one, just a stop shot. Hold you right between the 7 and the 3. Looks like he's trying to go forward, trying to simplify the shot. I think it's more simple just to stop your ball. You can cue it nicely. Yeah, that's the correct shot. And things all adding up and taking their places for Lee Vann. John Lehman coming in trying to remove the template. Still no shot clock in the event. That won't be implemented until the final 16.
Just looking ahead to the next lot of matches, Jeremy. You're not on commentary, but you've got Shane Wolford, Tyler Steyer, Oscar Dominguez, Chris Reinhold, all potential members of your team for Las Vegas and the Mosconi Cup, all in action. So you're going to be getting out and having a walk around looking at them?
Absolutely. Probably get a cup of coffee.
They're all very aware of the Mosconi situation, so people might say, well, you know, do they want the captain looking on, might put extra pressure on them. But if they can't deal with that, they're not going to be able to deal with the pressure of the tournament itself. So
yeah,
it's a good exercise from that point of view too.
Yeah, and we really have a group of, you know, guys that are professionals and becoming more professional every day. So I mean, You know, certain things that happened in the Moscone for the Americans in prior years was great, but you know, overall, we're here to work with the players. I'm sure Alex is as well, but these are professionals. They're supposed to be training. They're supposed to be prepared, and they're not supposed to have many excuses at all. They could come 2 rails. I kind of like the 1 rail coming up towards the 7. I think that's going to give you that angle you want to get on the 8 a little better. See, once he's right here, he's got angle the entire way up. That brings him across for the 8 a little more naturally. And I'll tell you, Eagle Eye's going to need something special, but the first thing he's going to need is a shot.
Well, that's it. He's a fighter, but he's not been given the chance to fight.
Yeah, and, you know, we'll see how this match ends and plays out. But I think if you talk to Jayson, you know, even at this moment now, there's a few shots in those first few racks, that 2 ball, that was very playable. Couple little shots here and there. He got snookered one time, kind of on a shot maybe he shouldn't have on the 3 coming back for the 4. So, you know, he can talk about the kick and he may bring that up, but I think overall Jayson would tell you I had some chances.
Well, it's going to be another shutout.
A Tony Drago look-alike in the background there.
Well, that's half a dozen racks in a row for Lee Vann Corteza. He now leads Jayson Shaw 8-2 and becomes the 3rd player to get to the hill. Niels Fyen there at 8-2 over Torsten Homan. Janiuski, as we've said, 8-0 in front against Bizarre Spahiu. That's the only match now that could still be a whitewash because Pius Labutus has won the 7th rack against Max Lechner, who now leads 6-1. Chris Melling 6-4 up on Jovan Bustamante. Alex Pagulayan with a 5-4 advantage just in front against Badr Alawadi. Kopinyi on the hill now at 8-2 against Daniel Maciol. Jonas Suto Camino just steadily increasing his lead over Imran Majid. That's now 6-2. Alban Ocean facing elimination here. 6-3 down to Wojciech Szewczyk. Roland Garcia in another of the close matches leads Jesus Atencio 5-4. Ko Ping Chung 1 ahead of David Al-Kaidi at 4-3. Niels Fyen 8-2 up on Torsten Homan. Abdullah Al-Yusuf 7-3 against Dennis Grabe. And in the last few moments, Janiuski has become the first player through to the last 32. The Finn has beaten Albania's Bezar Spahiu by 9 racks to 0. That's 2 9-0s in a row.
Yeah, pretty incredible, and a lot of drama out there. And I'll tell you, mistakes are going to be magnified, you know, as this tournament moves on. That's just how these big events are. And you know, and some other guys sometimes I think probably playing a little better, putting some racks together. We see some early leads that are starting, the matches are starting to get closer. So I wouldn't count any of those guys out, but if you're making mistakes, it's going to cost you. You're going to be on the sidelines. Difficult here, and big lead, of course, that always helps, but I tell you, Lee Vann may go for this bank. He's got to kind of slow roll it, though, to hold any position on the 2. Got to check the cue ball with a little right English if he does bank at it. I'm trying to look for the safety, and I really don't see much of any that I'm in love with. And there's definitely some doable safeties, but nothing easy. I think he's attacking. Oh, and he hit it sweet. He hit it sweet.
He's got the golden touch at the moment. Everything he attempts is coming off for him. Having a good year, you know. Runner-up in the US Open 10 ball back in April. He's 3rd in the Sandcastle Open in New Jersey, in this state we're in right now, just last week, and that's an event that counts towards the world rankings. Also had a 3rd place finish at the Wisconsin Open back in February, and he's won some smaller events. This will be a big result for him. He looks to re-establish himself among the leading players, but it won't have come out of nowhere.
No, and if you look at that field, the Sandcastle, of course, a ranking event, and then you know, a lot of the players looked at it as a great event to play in right before coming, you know, an hour and a half across the state for the U.S. Open. But if you look at it, what a field it was. Just really, really top shelf.
Another player has just made it to the hill. Abdullah Al Yusuf, 8-3 lead over Dennis Grabe.
Okay, funny little kiss shot here just because of the 5. You could hit this easy, but you want the 5 may cover up the next shot on the 3. So he wants to cross this over and play the 3 in the upper right. Oh, he's hitting it light. Trying to hold for the corner. And all I could figure that why he played it light, maybe position, but also if he played a little firm, maybe he was worried about missing that kiss shot on the 6. And now doesn't appear like he has much angle. But when you're close to the ball, that angle's a little greater than you think. So moving to the side rail shouldn't be too tough. And then back out towards the center of the table. You may just roll it.
Ko Pin-Yi is the next man through. He's just closed it out at 9-2 against Daniel Massiol. So one of the 6 Polish players to reach this stage has gone.
I'm afraid to say I think we're going to lose Jayson here shortly.
Well, it's not been a great year for him in these big field matchroom events. Went out in the last 32 of the World Championship. Didn't make single elimination of the UK Open. Last 16 at the European Open was his best showing. And it looks like it's going to be last 64. Elimination for him here. It's a rare day Jayson Shaw loses 7 racks in a row against anyone.
Yeah, and another thing though, to talk about the new break rule, right? As you look at all these matches, and it's going to be rare when you say, hey, the guy that won didn't deserve it, right? I mean, it's going to be pretty obvious now that just like this match, Vann deserved this win.
Oh yeah, he's played really well. Got better and better as it's gone on. Jayson Shaw's hopes of a second US Open title 5 years after his first look to only have a few more moments to run. Jayson Shaw has been MVP at the Mosconi Cup for both of the last 2 years. But he's going to need a pick from Alex Lely to be involved in this year's staging, because he is out of the US Open and therefore out of the running for automatic Mosconi Cup qualification. But let's make the story about Vann Corteza and how well he has played here. 7 racks in a row from 2-all. He has streaked away with a result that is really going to make people sit up and take notice. He wins 9-2 and will now play Ko Pin-Yi for a place in the last 16. And what a start to the day's action on table 1 that has been. Tell us about these numbers then. All in favour of Corteza.
Yeah, and it's 5 missed pots, you know, out of only 34 swings of the cue. That's, and really, I don't really recall many tough ones there. So Eagle Eye, what he's known for, maybe got the best of him at the beginning of the match, and then Vann just kind of took charge, especially after figuring out how to make a ball on the break.
Well, nobody would have ruled out the possibility of Corteza winning. I think 9-2 wasn't something that anyone would really have seen coming. So that's our first match completed on table 1. Next up, it's going to be Fedor Gorst against Tyler Steyer, and the winner of that may very well play Joshua Filler in the next round, so the draw's not been kind to any of those guys. But Gorst against Steyer in the company of Phil Yates and Carl Boyes in just a few minutes' time.
256 hopefuls go into action over 6 days. When an irresistible force meets an immovable object, something has got to give, but nothing is given yet. Final of a Matchroom promoted tournament. The majors in the game.
End up on the wrong end against an opponent of this quality. Not quite as close as it's been for him in the last couple of rounds.
The 478th match of this terrific tournament in Fulda.
Diamond Paragon Pool Table. Diamond tables are designed and manufactured from the highest quality, sustainable hardwoods, utilizing world-renowned designs. Diamond tables are unparalleled for playability and durability. After all, they are designed by players for players.
Big news here at the US Open in Atlantic City. Eagle Eye has been grounded. His wings have been ceremoniously clipped. Jayson, one of the finest potters in the game, came up against Vann Corteza. Tactically minded, knows a pool table like the back of his hand, and it was the Filipino who prevailed by 9 racks to 2. Now, Corteza's well capable of beating Shaw, but the margin of victory, that was